Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the series finale of Into the Badlands, 7 Strike as One. And this was a good finale overall. Now, it mainly gets into problems with what happens at the end, because it's definitely setting up for another season. And I'm just like, what? No, why would you do that? And then mess with us like this. So hopefully someone else picks it up, be it like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, anybody, even any kind of other network like FX or whatnot. Because they did a good job of wrapping up the core whole Pilgrim arc while setting up an interesting new direction that could be taken at the end. So we start off and we see that the widow decides to give Sonny Waldo's sword, and it's really kind of cool that Widow still has that, and we see that her and Sonny are at a better spot. We probably will never call them like friends, but the animosity towards them seems to be pretty much dulled. He's got a kid, he learns about her being pregnant and everything, so it kind of evens out. We see him talking to her about it and saying that vulnerability is not a weakness. You're strong for your kids, and kind of helping Widow kind of accept that fact. And eventually, towards the episode, when they go off into their separate kind of ways, saying that she's going to have the kid with Gaius, and them being happy about that. So we get all the battle plans together. We see a cool-ass Avenger shot with, of course, our titular 7, having a lot of evoking of like the Magnificent 7 with all that. We see that Moon is going to go with Sonny, Baji, and Kanan and go after Pilgrim, whereas Widow, Gaius, and Tilda will be going after the Meridian Chamber. And they got their big-ass force of the Black Lotus. It's like, okay, this is going to be pretty sweet. We also get info on Pilgrim's camp as he is getting ready for his war and everything, pretty much getting ready to send his acolytes out to forcibly convert people into these gift wielders and dark gods that he thinks. And we get kind of since this is the final episode, MK comes out all kind of Darth Vader-ish and is able to simply just get them to have pretty much mastery of the gift to not need to cut themselves. And the thing is, I have a problem with it because of how fast all of them are able to do it, but I understand that this is like the series finale on AMC, and you're trying to build to a resolution, so it needs to be expedited. So there's nothing else really that you could do at that point. Let's see. We also get that Cressida has now become even more wary of Pilgrim. Pilgrim saying that he's going to force her to take the gift and all that, while Cressida is telling him about the vision and that the darkness has consumed him and changed him. And he's like, I need you. And she'd been talking about all the ways she had given love to him, like as a mother, a woman, and like a confessor and all that. I'm like, okay, so there's many weird-ass levels to this love stuff, but like Cressida's really freaked out, and I kind of like this change of, oh god, he has completely lost the script and just gone complete insanity route with what's going on with the gift pretty much controlling him. Now, granted, the worst part of this insanity is it's somewhat rooted in some kind of reality. It's not completely far gone where you're like, okay, I could just take this dude out and there'd be no problems. He's still tactically enough aware. It's like, oh god. So he sent out his acolytes. They gather some people, and we get two kind of scenes. We get him starting to give people the gift and all that, and we see that the widow and her group come upon a nomad group camp that is getting completely destroyed. And it's pretty gnarly. We see like a dude ripped in half, and we see a mother and her baby killed, while we see a dude kind of flayed and messed up. And I'm like, oh god, this isn't good. And we see that Pilgrim's continuing on this. He has not trained these people properly. They just use their darkest impulses and are just let to run wild. And we see that one dude's like, I'm really afraid and everything, and then Pilgrim just kills him and he is about to try and force Cressida to take the gift. Granted, I understand that, one, she's wary of Pilgrim, but two, she's already got a gift. How would those two things interact? We don't know. Her head could blow up. It's a good reason to be like, I don't want to mess with this thing right now. But, of course, that's when everything starts going to hell in a handbasket, and our heroes start arriving, and we start getting the final battle. A good thing I really liked about this episode is it knew what it needed to do. It condensed the story bits that we needed and really got to great action scenes. We see that Baji and Sunny had made their kind of peace and everything and had their great fighting moments before they set off with the Black Lotus in their ships, and they land on the beaches and just storm the fortress. And Pilgrim just wants them to let the people come in, so it's like open the gates. And we just see all this bedlam start ensuing. He had also put MK on the Meridian Chamber guard duty. So we get this giant kick-ass fight sequence as we see everybody using the best of their abilities. We see Sunny just working the room with his sword and taking on multiple opponents and just destroying them with ease. We see Baji using his nunchucks as well as his ability to shut down people out of the power of the gift and just wrecking all kinds of different stuff. Kanan doing it as well, but in a different kind of manner and just ending everything. Moon, of course, decided to go with them because he wanted a chance to take on Cressida. And he gets his kind of moments as well. But we see that Cressida is just getting all these kind of scrolls and everything, and Eli isn't smart enough to figure out that she's trying to escape because she's able to manipulate him to get her out. Of course, that little bit we see is she gets to a boat. Moon is pretty much like, oh, so what are you doing? And lost all faith, and she's like, faith's all I have left. And that, why are you here kind of thing. I'm not part of this anymore. He's like, no, screw that. You've got to pay me for what you did to Lydia. And she's like, but what about your honor? And he goes, fuck honor. I'm glad that we had Moon say it that way. I mean, we've had a lot of different things, and I like that they decided to use the F-bomb for that one, and it just shows Moon's character arc and how it is changed, because honor was very important to him in the beginning when he was introduced, and he went to confront Sunny to regain that honor. And now he's gotten to this point where he had something that was more important than his honor, and it was taken away from him. He's like, fuck honor. So, yeah, it's cool that we got him to say fuck, but it's important why he says that. And, of course, he's going to try and go after her, but one of the acolytes comes on him. He's able to kill him, and Cressida gets away on the dinkiest goddamn motorboat ever. It's hearing the motor whine, and she's just like, and it's like, she's getting away. As more of Pilgrim troops come in and fight Moon, and of course, we get towards the end of the episode, and he survived, and that's pretty much where we see him. It's like, damn it. But we got a good kind of end cap, at least on his character arc, also setting up more things going on in the future with Cressida leaving. So, that's cool, but hopefully somebody picks it up to pay that off. We also see that we get in the Meridian Chamber. Tilda and her group have put all these explosives, and MK just comes down, and he's in his gift mode and everything, and he at first tries to pretty much appeal to the widow, knowing that she's pregnant and all that, and like, you ready to sacrifice yourself? Because Tilda's like, we'll blow this thing, man. I don't care. We'll blow this thing. And we start their fight that's being done in tandem with what's going on in Pilgrims. And it's a good fight because they pretty much got a good balance of 3 team members against MK, and it's enough that each side has a push and pull. When you're doing fight scenes with like martial art, well, any kind of fight scene, you really want a push and pull dynamic. You don't want someone to just always seem to have the upper hand, and then suddenly out of nowhere someone else has the upper hand. It just seems like ass pulls and just plot twists, like plot demanding that one person seems to be in complete control of the fight, and then suddenly you need the other person to be in complete control. We have a nice ebb and flow. I really have loved that about these fight scenes, and to be fair, these are some of the best fight scenes that we've had in the series to date. We've got big fight scenes and we get more intimate and just seeing how everybody's fighting style is different and everybody gets their kind of moment to shine. And I really like that as a capstone for AMC doing this as a series finale. So we see that MK has a really tough time and he gets to a point where he's pretty much got Tilda dead to rights, but he decides to knock her out. That's important to show that MK is not completely lost, at least within this point. It's like, okay, somebody needs to kind of figure out how to get that for MK, get him kind of back, maybe. But of course, he gets to a point where he's then just fighting Gaius and the Widow, and he's almost got a kill shot on the Widow, but Tilda has been able to wake up enough and takes that killing blow, and MK looks distraught. He didn't want to kill Tilda. And I'm glad that we still kind of have that part of it, but of course this pisses Widow off, and we see that Tilda goes out and we think that she's dead at this point, and it pisses her off so much that she goes into dark-eyed gift mode. It's like, okay, did the master really unlock that for her? Did this stimulus unlock it for her? Is this from her being pregnant? There's a lot of questions for this. But then, of course, we get the more awesome parts of her essentially going Darth Vader on MK's ass. Using telekinesis, pretty much bringing him up and choking his ass and just taking him around, slamming him up against the monolith in the center, and stabbing him in the heart with the blade that says no mercy, as she says no mercy to him, and he slides down. And this was kind of the way that we were seeing MK's arc, and I kind of wish that there had been better material for him, though granted, he does provide really good fight scenes like this one. He went out on a good way, so I'm like, okay, we'll have that. And then, of course, we see that Gaius has gotten over and says, Tilda's got a pulse, we got to get her out of here to the healers. And of course, they set up their way to get rid of the Meridian Chamber. By this point, the battle within Pilgrim's Fortress has gotten down to just Sunny, Kanan, Baji, and Pilgrim. Because Pilgrim did some kick-ass ways of taking out some Black Lotus people without even going into his gift mode. And, of course, when he sees all these, he remarks upon how fortuitous this is. 3 people from Azeron, the one person that brought them together. And we see this 3-on-1 fight that just works so well. Because we see him going into his gift mode, and we just see everybody trying their best to take him out. But it's really not enough. At this point, we see Sunny and Kanan and Baji really getting messed up and beat up, and we get to a point where Sunny gets impaled with his sword, and it really sucks because it's a pretty bad wound, but he decides to keep the blade in, and Pilgrim's like, what the hell? But there's a reason, because we'd seen that Kanan had gotten up and used the hooks that Cressida had used to see her visions and strung up Pilgrim, and this got him out of dark-eyed mode, and Baji, of course, is used to bring him, string him up because he's up top, comes down, and we see that Sunny is weakened from this. And this isn't the only time we see a character weakened from what they're doing. We see that the Widow had gotten out of her dark-eyed mode and was visibly weakened from what had happened. But it's really nice in that he's down there. He's really having trouble hearing Baji, but then he takes the sword out and jumps from his back and stabs Pilgrim in the chest and takes him out. And that's the end that we see for Pilgrim. Now, Sunny then falls down, and we see that his eyes flash gold for a second. It's like, what the hell? And we see that Baji and Kanan think that he's dead. It's like, ah, damn. It's a great way for that to go out. But that's not the end of the episode. We see that Widow and Gaius have pretty much got Tilda in a truck and are driving away. They blow up the Meridian Chamber, and it's a pretty big thing. Moon sees it, and that's about the rest of anybody seeing what happened with it. And we don't know if Tilda's alive or dead or what's going on. And then we switch over, and we see that Baji and Kanan are saying goodbye to Sunny. It's like, okay, this is nice and all. Baji's saying that he's going to take care of Henry, treat him like a son, but, you know, without the whoring and the drinking and all that kind of stuff. But tell him that his father was a good man and a good friend. And I liked the relationship that we got with Sunny and Baji. It was first kind of just strange and had some adversarial tones, and it's just grown to be like they both relied on each other so much to help each other out of different predicament, crap, predicaments, and also compliment each other on their weaknesses and strengths. And it's just like, damn, that was really nice for Baji to say. But the thing is, we saw Golden Knight Flash, and they've kind of got him in this beautiful cave kind of setup, and then we see him wake up in this beautifully colored place, just pure white snow and everything. Where the hell am I? And we see the master come up and starts talking to him. It's like, what? And she's talking about how this is a realm between like life and death, and that with everything he went through, his gift was reawakened, and that it's slowly restoring life to him. So he's healing, and he's going to be back. And he's like, okay, but why are we? That's cool and all. And she's like, well, you're going to have to return, because Sunny wants to get back as soon as possible. But she said that there's a more powerful and insidious evil that's coming back, more insidious than any human, and your work has just begun. And then we switch to the last portion of the episode. We see that Eli is digging around the Meridian Chamber place from the wreckage, and digs up a revolver, and he fires it, and it works. So guns are coming into the Badlands. And it's like, okay, I was thinking that potentially the Meridian Chamber would have been connected to some dark, eldritch, or otherworldly force, and that MK had become the vessel of a dark god. But it seems like guns and firearms to that effect would change up what the Badlands would be, and change up the whole thing of martial arts and power structures throughout all the Badlands. It's like, wow, that's a pretty interesting setup. And Sunny having to be kind of the next, well, not really the master, but the next kind of force to try and protect the Badlands is pretty cool, and it works for this character arc. And this being the end really sucks. I'm like, that's a really good cliffhanger. It's a good enough tease to not be like, that really sucks that you'd have to wait this long to get it up. This is like the series finale, and they set it up like this. I'm like, now we've got kung fu and then like cowboy kind of stuff going on, kind of similar to what's going on in Warrior. I'm like, oh my god, why would you stop here? So I hope someone picks this up, because granted, this would be a kind of good end cap, because the Pilgrim thing was done. We had great arcs for the characters. You could leave some questions unanswered, but there's so much potential here, and the fight scenes and the things that you could do with everything, just, there should be more to this. There are definitely more stories, and definitely more things that these characters can do. I mean, introductions of guns into the Badlands is a huge game changer, and I would love to see what would happen with people having to deal with guns as well as kung fu and all kinds of martial arts and all different kinds of weapons, and how that would change and interact. So I really hope that someone picks this up. Otherwise, I'm somewhat okay with this being the end cap for AMC's portion on Into the Badlands, because we got a lot of good fight scenes throughout this episode to really send off the series as being a great martial arts show. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.